have to have long-term vision. When you're making money, say that. Don't change your lifestyle too much, because there's always rain on the horizon. Probably best bang for the buck is the money in your business. And I'm in the real estate business. I love real estate. I think it's foundation of everything.
Welcome to the Mark Faris Experience, where we interview the most successful entrepreneurs. Today we have Wayne Ezekiel here, a custom home builder with A.N.T Homes. He's built 150 properties, and he builds these homes between like $1.5 million up to $12 million. So he's really in that upper end scale, and just a true professional, and really looking forward to the conversation. Welcome, Wayne.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
you very much.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. We've had a lot of conversations through the years, and I'm really excited to be able to kind of dive in and really find out, because I don't really know your beginning, and this is going to be our first conversation talking, let's go back to the very beginning of your entrepreneurial journey and really get into, like, how did you start? Like, what was it that got you into home building? And maybe you could share that kind of we'll say that the beginning stages with the listeners here.
Right. So growing up, I was always tinkering with things. Like, we'd build forts, even underground forts. Like, we'd just dig out holes and do things like that. And I started renovating in Toronto when I was working for the federal government. And I had a good job with them. They paid well. But throughout the years, morale started to drop in that, where I worked, for who I worked for. And I met my wife in Toronto, and I chased her around the world for a bit. And she's from Barrie. So we decided to settle in Barrie. So I transferred with the government to Barrie, with this inkling to always want to do my own thing. To back it up, when I was 16, my parents left, and I was kind of living on my own.
That's 16 years old.
16 years old in Toronto, in probably one of the roughest neighborhoods in Toronto.
Wow.
And
incredible. I have a 16-year-old now. To think that all of a sudden he's got to go out on his own, that's incredible.
Well, my parents, it didn't work out, unfortunately for them, but they put a lot of good in me. And then when they left, I was on my own. It was at Jane and Finch. So it was you survive. So I struggled. I didn't finish school. I finished grade 12. Met Tracy, who was going to college, different background for her, totally different background. And then we traveled a bit in the world, had a job, but still always motivated from the core to do things and try and do better for myself. So really started that from having to look after myself to start to look after my family. So when I got into Barrie, I had clients, and I was renovating while I had this federal job with the federal government.
I can imagine that federal government job, just knowing your personality, probably would have been very tough on a day-to-day basis. Generally in a role like that, it's do just enough to get the job done, but definitely don't do anything more than that. And don't show up early, don't show up late, like just do enough. Is that
exactly
the culture?
Cut early if you can, or hustle through that fixed amount of work that you have to do and get out of there. And it's fun because it was a lot of waste of money of Canadian taxpayers. Like, it's just like their return on investment was probably 20 to 30%. So it freed up a lot of time for me. So I was renovating and home improvements.
Got it.
So this is in the early 90s.
And so you were in your teenage years through that period as well?
No, I was in the 20s.
Okay, so you got through high school. Okay, got it.
High school. Got married. Got to Barrie. And by the time I was in my 30s, when I decided to first I did a job in Barrie where someone, if it was a big expansion for me. We're just doing decks and wallpaper, do anything. And I built a really tight relationship with a person who trusted me, knew that I worked really hard, fair, honest. So they gave me an opportunity and they said to me, do you want to take the roof off my house?
Okay.
So it's a 2,800 square foot bungalow.
Yeah.
And to physically take the roof off,
Yeah.
I put a second story on.
Oh, wow.
So from decks and my whole decks to hanging wallpaper to renovating bathrooms to doing this jump, massive.
And were you working full time while you were doing this?
Yes.
Still for the, wow. So you were doing all the renovations, learning the basics of construction. And then you had this opportunity to go to the next level and put a whole second story on
a house. So
Yeah.
it was basically open to the elements.
Yeah.
There was nights that it rained and I would go down and tarp off like down through the stairwell.
Yeah.
Because that's where the water's going to go right into the main floor, to the basement. And he just believed in me.
Yeah.
And it was a huge risk for both of us. And it's funny because my wife being from Barrie, she had a really, she had a lot of people, but she had some business people who she knew. And I spoke to this businessman and I said, how do I price this job? And he said to me, you're going to lose your shirt.
Okay.
You're going to lose your shirt. He said, ask for an hourly wage and a percentage of the cost of the build.
Okay.
And I did. And it was the first time I really felt that when I'm at the end of the job, we did it in 2 months. 2 months, full court press.
Yeah.
Done, finished.
Wow.
We're taking the, and I had
that's a
the
big
right
job.
people. So you align yourself with good people. And then a lot of things happen, but you just figure out a way to work through them. And at the end of that job, I was looked at my hands and I had profit.
Yeah.
I had profit. So I was surprised. Like, it was a good thing.
Yeah.
Because if I would have priced him, especially with this guy being a spender, so he got good value off me.
Yeah.
Because nobody would have done it for what I did it
Yeah.
for. And then it gave him more and he spent more. So the fixed price would have been hard. 2 years later, he said to me, would you build me a house? And I said, for sure I would. So I went and got Terrion. I registered. I did the courses.
Yeah.
Terrion, and I built his house for him, for his daughter. And it was, I bought the lot,
Yes.
the house. The lot was 40,000.
Yeah.
The sale price was 150,000 for the house and the lot. And that was another big learning experience. And while I was doing that, everybody I bumped into wanted me to build a house for them. So I built another one and another one. I had taken a leave at that time from the government
Yes.
to build those 3 houses. We built 3 houses in 6 months. 2 months, one after the other. Then I went back to the government. 6 months, I had another 3 clients. So I took another 6-month leave. This was in 1997. Built 3 more.
Yeah.
In 1998, I asked for another leave. They said no. And I had a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And I quit. I just walked out the door.
Okay. I want to go back to the opportunity that was laid in front of you. So a lot of people would just, maybe they'd be scared and they wouldn't take that. But what you did was such a powerful lesson, I think, for the listeners out there, is you went and got wise counsel from somebody. You didn't try and just figure it out on your own. You went to somebody and he gave you that advice to do like hourly wage and a percentage.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's where anytime you're going into something, that I think is such a powerful lesson for anybody going in, is to go speak to somebody and say, hey, what are your thoughts on how I go about this? Because they've been down the road before.
Yes.
That was smart.
100%.
Yeah.
And even the person who gave me the opportunity
Yes.
was a trustworthy, good person. So that was, it started. And then I got counsel. And then some of the people who helped me out were people that I knew for a long time that I could trust in.
Yes.
Because to go in blind or not have any of that, you could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. And getting so good. Yeah. Getting the right people around you as well. It seems to be such a consistent theme for successful entrepreneurs is just surround yourself with people that you can trust.
Trust and smart.
Yeah.
Smart and have something. Everybody has something.
Yeah. They have their specialty that they focus on. Yeah.
If you hang out in that crowd, hang out in that group. So
wow.
That's kind of the start.
And so, and that was another thing. You were doing basically you were running your business while working full time.
Yes.
All those years. And so that is also, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, it's just like, I'm going to quit my job and I'm just going to go, start the business. And I mean, you can do that, but a wise way is to keep your job and then to prove out the business model while you're keeping this job to support the family. And that's what you did is you really proved the model first, and you were working twice as hard during that period. And then you made it wasn't even risky at that point, likely, although it was still a big decision to give up the government job. But you had more data to be able to say, you know what, this is a wise decision at this point, and you can now elevate to that next level with all that extra time that you're able to buy back. How was that for you, making that decision to go full out, in the business and step away from
I think job? Most people, like I asked some people and they said, don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I believed in myself, and I had my wife and kids, and I was doing it for them as well.
Yeah.
And you have to go 100% in. And I remember those even earlier years, Mark. It's funny because I would get a house. So this was once the job's gone, and I would say, Tracy, once we got this done, and we get you laugh, once we get this house done, and I'm not gonna have to work 7 days a week. We're gonna be okay. And then a few years go by.
It's like, we sold this house, you got a profit, and then there's the next opportunity, and the next, and the next.
20 years later, we're good. Like I kind of, I don't have to.
Oh, so
because
good.
I moved into more of a land development role. So it's been all along, but you would know.
Yeah. Well, and this actually, we were talking a little bit about, our spouses. Tracy is obviously super supportive, and same with Joanna on my end. But maybe you could talk a little bit about the importance of having that supportive spouse and how important and pivotal that is to successful business and to really long-term success as an entrepreneur.
It's everything, because a lot of things I need purpose, and I think that's why I work
right.
I do, and I'm driven. So I'm driven regardless, and purpose, but I have a purpose. And throughout our 39 years married now.
Wow. Almost 40 years. That's incredible.
It's great. It's great. She's my best friend. We're together all the time. And we've had the same struggles in a marriage as you do in business. So one of the other good things that can even come out of entrepreneurship is you're dealing with people, and a lot of people and a lot of situations. And sometimes they're hairy. It's not even the best. So you can take the skills that you learn and deal with that in your family too.
Good,
with your spouse, or with your kids. Like it's both, and I just find that I think I'm lucky. Lucky. And Tracy stood beside me and stayed with me. She's not in the business, but being an ER nurse, I mean, I think construction, well, it's bricks and mortar. If there's a problem, you just fix it. In her role at RVH and then ER, it's I don't know how she does that. I don't know how she did that.
Yeah.
So,
well, and Tracy's incredible, and your marriage is it's amazing to see successful and business and successful marriage. I think it's something that we can definitely everybody can aspire to go towards as an entrepreneur. And another thing that I found to be like really important for, say, Joanna being supportive is, like, business has a lot to do with relationships. And there's always, like you had mentioned, say, there's hairy situations that sometimes come up. And, regardless of whatever business, there's always things. And so having a sounding board sometimes is, for me, it was really valuable. It's like, hey, Joanna, here's a scenario. Like, what are your thoughts? And that was something through the years that having that quick feedback loop or that cycle there, it has been like really valuable for me, because it's not like it's tough at the top, as a CEO, there are many decisions that we got to make. And sometimes we don't have somebody there on a day-to-day basis, just as like, hey, like this is going on. Like, what are your thoughts on that? And just to get like outside perspective.
Yeah, because they're not even working for you, and they're not yes people.
That's right. And
Definitely not.
Yeah, no, and they'll call you on your BS, right? And that is something that we need.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, listen, you know what? I'm going to call you on this right now because I don't think, that's right. And it's like, oh, that's actually true.
Yeah, and if they're there since day one too.
Yeah.
They've had the same pains or hurts, and they know you better than anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody.
So good. So we were just talking about the advantages of having a supportive spouse. And so we went through the beginning stage, that early struggle. So you left your job, your full-time job, and you're into now custom building, because a lot of people started asking you to build homes. Can you share maybe what an early struggle, maybe a couple or maybe one experience that you went through at the beginning that was tough to help you get to that next level? Because there's like early struggle phase, right? And you had shared one about, Tracy, once we get this home done, I'm not going to need to work 7 days a week. What else did you have to go through at the beginning to get past that early struggle to say, yeah, we actually have a real business now?
So throughout, that was in the 90s, and by like the late 90s,
Yes.
96, 98 when I left.
Yeah.
By 2000, I had bought some lots.
Yes.
Even then it was a lot of money, but it was a debt over $1 million. And I thought, it's $1 million.
Yeah. Oh, JC, we're boring $1 million now. It's like, oh, I got an extra fire under me.
Yeah. So now I gotta.
Yeah.
So with that though, Mark, the good thing is I was able to keep up my work regimen.
Yeah.
Because we were paying it off.
Yeah.
They're building the houses on the lots that we bought.
Yeah.
But really the next, a big one was 2010, 2012. And I bought this was a struggle that kind of, like taking the roof off and going to get the tear down. This would have been the next bump.
Yeah.
Which we bought a piece of land with someone else.
Okay.
Like a 50-acre farm.
Yeah.
In urban area, and we were developing it.
Okay.
So we had put in all our money, and of the 50 acres, we were developing about 30.
Okay.
So I had the money.
Yeah.
So we're buying it, we're developing it, and we're going to borrow. So borrow from the banks. And borrowing is good because it's leverage.
Yeah.
To be an entrepreneur, you have to leverage.
Yeah.
You leverage yourself with getting people or money. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
So we did that as well. And then A.N.T started to build the houses. So there was 38 houses.
Okay.
So, you start to look at cash and you say, well, we've got the land,
Yeah.
got the roads in, and we're building these houses.
Yeah.
Well, the banks want all their money back first.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you get your money at the end, and there's some reward.
Yeah.
But there's risk and reward.
Yeah.
So I ran out of money.
Yeah.
So I had to really struggle through it and change what we were doing, because it was the first time I did land development,
Yes.
and we were developing in there, and we were building 10 houses a year, but it didn't cash flow. So even after, almost 20 years in the business, you say, okay, you try and take that step, but cash.
Yeah.
King. So I slowed it down.
Yeah.
And I would build forward there, and went back out to do the custom homes.
Okay.
Because the custom homes cash flow.
Yeah.
You build it, you get your money, you pay your people.
Yeah.
And you're good.
Right.
In the development, you
long-term.
pay your
Yeah.
it's a long term.
Yeah.
It's 5-10 years, and you got to pay your staff, your people, and you need them all, and you have quality people, so you have to really look after them. So that was a good lesson to learn. And it's funny because fast forward 10 years now, the other 20 acres to develop. I'm just about at the spot to start developing, and we won't even lose a moment of sleep from it.
So let's dig into that for a minute, cash. And this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs, they'll look at their profit loss at the end of the month and say, I made a profit, or I'm, maybe I was in the red for that month. But one of the more important documents that I look at on a weekly basis is the cash flow statement. And so this is something that, looking at where you're at for cash today, tomorrow, and next month and a few months after that, and projecting out, the cash in a business it's like cash is king. You had mentioned it's like oxygen for a business. What are your thoughts on some on that? And that's a really good experience there, going through and seeing the importance firsthand. Like, moving forward, you realize that cash is something that if you don't have it, your business is actually out of business, right?
Yes, and you may be selling things for less value.
Yeah.
I think part of it is too, you have to have long-term vision.
So good.
And when you're making money, save it. Save it. Don't change your lifestyle too much, because there's always rain on the horizon. There is. Like, if we went through COVID, which nobody could have anticipated. Yeah. And now, if I look at the real estate industry now, it's kind of flat. It's okay, but it's flat. Yeah. And my son's in the business, and I'm telling him, this is great. Yeah. Because he's never experienced that. Yeah. He hasn't had that flatness, so I'm going to learn some new stuff from this flatness in the business.
So good. So if there's a entrepreneur that's watching and they say, okay, how much cash is enough cash to save in the business? What kind of advice would you give them as to, is there a number, or is it just like save as much as possible? Or what advice would you give an entrepreneur as to say, yeah, okay, you have enough kind of cash or emergency fund there for a rainy day to be able to overcome, future challenges?
I think you want to keep as much money as you can in the business for growth, and structure it so that it's protected as it can be. Yeah. But the probably best bang for the buck is the money in your business. And I'm in the real estate business. I love real estate. Yeah. I think it's foundation of everything. And if you look over all of time, it's the thing that's appreciated the most. Yeah. And it's solid. It's a tangible thing that is physically sitting there. So good. For me, it's value. Yeah. And for us, because now we're still wanting to grow and we're in the land development, there's money there. But really, I look at it as it's not mine. Yeah. It belongs to A.N.T. Right. Because A.N.T. needs that, or you're out of business. So that's the same as the cash. If you want to keep the cash in the business, or keep it as reserve and try to live humble. Don't try to be a flashy person and spend the money, because when the rain comes, you're done. Well, and it's so tempting. Especially new entrepreneurs. Yeah. Because it's 20 years when you know you've made it or not, and you have to put your heart and soul into it. Yeah, and you get like $1 million paycheck. It's like, I have $1 million now, and then you see all the shows and social out there saying they got their sports cars, but the reality is that there's always a storm coming down the road, right? And whether it's the market or internally within a company. So one thing that you had said that was really powerful a little earlier was that having that strong vision is so important. And also you had said there, it's about ant homes is what you're building. And it's not about Wayne, right? It's about you're building ants. So having a strong vision of where the company is going, and then you're actually building something that's separate than Wayne, and you really need to build that so it's extremely healthy. And so you're investing into that separate entity. And so it's like you're building something separate than you, is a really good way to frame it that you had said. It's like, it's not about me, it's about Ant.
that when I'm
It's
investing
all about
into.
and yeah. So the money, the resources, the people are the key.
And I think that's such a key to success in business and building any sort of business is when you are, it's not about you. And that's actually a key trait of a level 5 leader. Jim Collins talks about that it's not about them as the leader. It's about the business sits above. And I talk to the team both on the real estate sales side and the investment firm all the time. It's not about me. It's not about, any of the other leaders. We're building a business and it's about the mission. The mission is more important than any of us. And so that's when we make decisions, and especially cash decisions. It's like we need to build up the health of this so that it can continue to thrive and grow without you.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
good.
That's great stuff. That's good.
So we, as business owners, entrepreneurs, we go through like thousands of decisions, right? And we make a lot of like really big decisions as well.
Right.
What helps you in your decision making on a day-to-day basis? Are there any values or kind of things that you think through to be able to make like a good quality decision that's going to help and homes grow?
I vet them.
Okay.
And look at who I'm dealing with in the decisions. It is quite important because I want to be with good people, because if things pop up, you're in a good healthy environment. I take my time reviewing them. And now, since the one story when I went just a little too much, I only would bite off what I can chew, that if things do go sideways, it's okay. So there's jumps, and then there's leaps and bounds. In this industry, it's a lot of money, and if you don't have one project, this is a good point. So I invested almost everything into one, which actually turned out great at the end. So it's a bad story that worked through very hard to a good story, but it was all in one. So now I would do 4 versus 1.
Got it.
So one great big one, because the payout in land development is so long, and home building, that you're better to have a couple of different irons in the fire to spread out that risk.
Got it. So when you're deciding whether to work with somebody or not work with somebody, because I think that's such a valuable tip, is like if there's a situation, things could, the terms and everything of a deal can look extremely attractive, but you look behind that deal at the people that you're working with. What would be a decision or a factor there that you would say, okay, this is somebody that I want to go into business with versus not?
Yeah, I think it would depend on their character.
And
the character of the person. And I think now that I've kind of more determined that my wife is my partner. So the partnership thing is not so much anymore. Like, I wouldn't partner in A.N.T. Homes because it's our vision, it's our company, it's our quality, it's our brand. And we care so much about it. And all our businesses are referable. And it's from being custom homes in Simcoe County. So it's a generalized area, and they just come one after the other from that. So in partnership, I probably wouldn't do it at this stage of my life, because I have my son, who's in the business, who's doing great. My daughter's in a mirror business in Whistler. They build really big houses. So her and I even cross-reference each other and give each other nuggets, and I give her tips for the company that she works for, 2 guys, small, but custom home builds. But the Whistler is a very expensive place. So we cross-reference,
learn from each other,
help each other. But the partnership, I would maybe do it in land, but not in A.N.T, because it's our vision, it's our culture.
That makes a lot of sense.
We wouldn't have a partner per se that's saying who's going to make decisions.
Got it.
On how we build our our brand.
Got it. And say a client comes to you, they want to build a custom home. What is your kind of core client? Like, what do you find when they come on and you say, yeah, okay, we're going to take this project on? What are the projects that you say, you know what, this goes off really well when that client does, you know, A, B, and C? Like, what are some things that are like that you really look for and really are ingredients to a successful, we'll say, you know, recipe for, you know, they're happy at the end of it and you see that as a successful overall project? Is there anything that they have?
That's a fantastic question.
Yeah.
Because we just have changed and modified how we do things.
Okay.
And what we're really trying to do with the custom home people now.
Yeah.
Right? As of right now, recently, we found that vetting them earlier,
Yeah.
doing all the selections, all the upgrades, the relationship before you sign the contract. So because in custom home building, there's always happy, we're getting a new house.
Yeah.
Here's the house, here's everything.
Yeah.
And then you got to strap on your boots and get through the mud and build changes. And you got to do the work.
Yeah.
You got to get in there and do the work.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And at the end, they're super happy because the quality of the product, we care. We care. We really care. And that's everything. So now we're trying to do more upfront relationship building so that when we got to strap on our boots and do the house,
got it,
they're already happy. Those bumps don't feel as bad because they say, well, we know A.N.T. A.N.T's got me. A.N.T. got our back. And it's really that transition now earlier because people have changed as well.
Yeah.
Like the homeowner that we did in the 90s and the homeowner today, plus the scale of homes we're doing, you know, they want what they want and they just want to feel trust and taken care of.
We found this big time that the standards now are higher.
Yeah.
And it's actually we found to be a really important thing because that's now pushed us to raise our standards and to continue to keep them high. And we actually, for us, we offer a guarantee both on the investment firm side that there's a monthly communication update on the 30th. If it's one day late, we tell them we'll buy them a dinner for all of our investors. And on the sales side, they can cancel with us on whether they're buying and selling a home at any time. And that's like a catalytic mechanism that forces us to have these high standards. But you offer these and you build your service in a way that it just doesn't happen, but it gives them kind of an escape route. But the standards, if you see the higher standards as a very good thing, now you build your business around. That's actually, it is a good thing if you see it as a good thing. And some builders, I would think, they would see that as a negative thing, and they're constantly, you know, have a negative connotation or a negative, we'll just say, vibe that probably these clients would pick up on. Whereas with you, I know when you have somebody that is, we'll just say, has high standards, you love that because you have high standards as well. From what I've seen, is that would you say that, you know, the high standard client is somebody that you really want to work with?
Yes, yeah, and we offer that value. And there's times when we make mistakes. So instead of pricing or things like that in a customer, so some builders sometimes will cut corners or they're doing things differently. That's their business model. That's good. They can do what they want.
Yeah.
But for us, if we do something wrong, it's what can we learn from this? You eat it. You fix it. The clients know. They're very savvy and they know. And you just try not to let that happen again. But don't drop your standard.
So good.
Don't. And they know it. And then they have no problem referring you. They say, and that's what it's the people.
That's such a key idea, as well as you look at because every business makes mistakes.
Absolutely.
That's a reality. But you go to that and say, what can we learn from this? And the goal is not to do it again, right?
Right.
But then to own it and to fix it. That a lot of businesses just say, this, and they sweep it. I mean, I just went through this. We hired a landscaper, and it's just, one excuse after another. And it's just been a horrible kind of experience going through. And one of the key things I noticed is not taking ownership for those and then pointing the finger at the sub trades instead of I hired you, and not pointing the finger at people behind you that you're responsible for.
That is so good. That is golden advice, because you have to look internal. If you look at, you're not going to develop. You're not going to have a good product. You have to look inside and say, how do I fix this?
The client going to you, Wayne, the last thing that you would ever say is oh, my sub trade's messed up. Like, they're the one at fault. The client would go to you and say, but Wayne, I hired you.
Would they ever? Yeah.
Right. And so, that's one thing that I know that you do really well is you take ownership and you have that long-term vision of having a client for life that later they can go, sing your praises. Right.
And it kind of started like that in the beginning when I had Frank say to me, take the roof off, then will you build me a house? So, that relationship thing. We have another one now. We built his son a house, then his daughter. Now we're building their uncles on Georgia Bay. They live in Cincinnati. And then we're doing another one in time. Like, it's just
makes a lot of
one
sense.
person, one build, and we're on our fourth custom home. But you gotta care.
You gotta care.
You gotta care.
That relationship's important. So tell me about, how do you deal with stress? Because you're running a multi-million-dollar business. You have, 6 direct team members. You have, at any given time, you could have up to 100 trades working on your property. So you're overseeing a big business here. How do you deal with stress on a day-to-day basis so that, you can actually sleep at night? What do you do to help you through stress as a business owner?
I think I'm more of a veteran now.
Okay.
So some of the stuff, it's going to be okay. I look long term. I go to the gym regularly because it's both physical and mental, part of the mental break. And I'm learning, because I'm like a boomer, right? I'm a boomer. So when we grew up, things were different. And I work with millennials. So instead of I'm a leader, not a boss. So I really change the mindset and understand how they do more. And now, to you say, when A.N.T's its own entity, they are A.N.T, and they feel that. So they look after a lot of the stress for me. So it's kind of, it's moved over. And it's moved over to them. They have ownership and accountability and responsibility. So if there's 100 people out there, this would be a bad thing to say because it still comes to me, but I don't have to look after it. I was almost going to say it's not my problem. But it always is my problem. It's downloaded to people who the group is incredible. They're sensational. And I know they're going to look after it.
Because you're working with people that you can trust that take. It's like Robin Sharma wrote a book, Lead Without a Title, right? They own their role or not? And that's where the people that you hire, I know they have that level of ownership of the role.
I can't even call it management. Our team is linear. So there's times when I can be outvoted. I'll because now once you move away, like as a CEO or something, you move away, you hear something, but you only know a piece of it. So you may comment on it. And then you hear the backup from the people, from the boots on the ground, and you go, okay, I got it. Or what's your opinion? Because you value it, and let them make the decision. So they have more ownership. So it allows me to step away from the house building and focus more on the land development.
Makes a lot of sense.
And so the stress, it feels like there's been different times, but right now, touch wood, it's we're good. In that department, you get more skillful at what you do. So I think the stress should drop off.
The working outside of it, I think, is such a valuable lesson for entrepreneurs, because you get so caught up on a day-to-day basis and stopping to actually work out. I mean, even if you take like 30, 45 minutes to do like like physically exhaust yourself and just get a good sweat on, that in itself, I found to be so critical. When I've been off that schedule, like I feel it and I feel more stress in my life versus, working it out. And I find like I make better decisions on a day-to-day basis when I'm, actively working out. I feel better. Right. And at the end of the day, I'm just a better entrepreneur, better business person. And I think it's easily overlooked, especially when you get busy.
And the importance of it for health, because if you're healthy, you can grow your business, you can stay in business. If you don't look after your health, it causes problems, family, business as well. So there's even that aspect for entrepreneurs, right? Like if you got to look after yourself.
So that's great. So what advice would you give a younger entrepreneur that maybe they're working on their own right now? They don't have any staff. They're doing everything on their own, and they want to get to a level like yourself, like that. There's a journey there that needs to happen, right? So they're self-employed. They want to get to the level where where you're at. What advice would you give that entrepreneur to help them get to your level?
You have to love it. You have to have a passion for what you're doing. There would need to be a market for it.
Yes.
You really want to think that you're probably going to work a lot harder at it than you think you are right now.
Yeah.
And there's going to be bumps. And
you
just have to stay the course. And one of the things that I would say that could have helped me astronomically that I didn't do early is seek outside counsel to your work, to use your work.
Yeah.
I look at the stuff now and that's what I feed off, because you start getting more self-confident and then where are you going to learn the stuff from?
Yeah.
So you just have to look around you, look at the people who are around you who are doing the same thing, because you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
And you need to seek their advice. And I do that more so now. It's the number one thing for me, because I have to learn even how to lead the people that I work at. Here's a funny one for you.
Yeah.
I would say one time when we were chatting.
Yeah.
So this is tips. This is just, you don't know where it's coming from, and they're nuggets.
Yeah.
So we were chatting one time in your office, in your old office just across the street here.
Yeah.
It's probably like 217.
Yeah.
And we're still scaling up, and we still are.
Yeah.
Because I just love it. And you said to me, get a controller.
Right.
Because I didn't have a controller.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
So just a nugget. So I got this controller guy, he's a friend. So he was going through CPJ and CPA, and they got all these letters now, but it's the same thing.
Yeah. To help with on the financing.
Like help me. Because so 217 after I did my cash thing.
Yeah.
So first thing he says is, ask your trades for 2% 15 days.
Yeah.
So I did. A lot of them complied.
Yeah.
One, which was our biggest vendor, like 3%, 15 days. So you pay in 15 days.
Yeah.
It was a $50,000 to $100,000 a year tip. And that was 7 years ago.
So good. So you can imagine. That's
do the math.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And I would have never thought, but listening to you, and you're an entrepreneur, and you're driven and smart, and you surround yourself. So we still have that now in place, and we pay in 15 days.
Yeah.
Because the money's you got to have the cash flow.
Yeah.
It's there. It's nothing in the bank.
Yeah.
So the 2% is a huge value. One of the tips. I thought that was
that's so valuable. This is so valuable. And it's interesting. I think a lot of entrepreneurs we'll just say they think that somebody that's maybe further down the road than them, they are too busy. They don't want to give advice, and they won't give you the time of day. But what I found was the opposite, that the most successful people, they're willing to share their wisdom.
I would agree. Are they ever? Are they ever? Because they've enjoyed the ride and they have wealth of knowledge, which is free.
They want to be able to give back.
Give back.
Yeah. And actually, what's one thing that I found as well, the more you can teach, the more you actually learn. Like, teaching is one of the best ways of learning and growing, because when you're teaching it or it's talking about it, you got to be really clear in yourself when you're saying what it is to be able to break it down to the simple to explain it. You got to get it down inside of yourself. So, I tell this to my team members, is like, if you want to learn something really well, like, teach it. And it really forces you to really understand the material.
Right. And even another aspect of that is many times when I have a problem and we're talking to the team about it, and I start to go through the points of the situation, it kind of resolves itself in that conversation, because you're speaking about it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about it. It's okay. Well, we could do this, we could do that, we could, and then it kind of just, the light comes on, okay, this is what we're going to do, and then you move on.
Okay, that's phenomenal, Wayne. Love that. In regards to seeking wise counsel and how important that is.
Early,
as early as possible.
Do it early, because it's out there.
Do it early, do it a lot, and keep doing it. Even when you get to your level, like, you're doing it, you had said you're doing it more than you've ever done.
And I look back and say, if I started earlier, I would have been golden.
Yeah, that's great.
Or happier.
Yeah, that's a solid nugget there. Okay, so entrepreneurs, they start in business. They're making solid income. They've saved, we'll say 6 months of expenses in cash, so they're doing pretty well there. From a cash savings standpoint, what investing advice would you give a young entrepreneur to be able to get to, say, that next level, to really, help them maybe cut through a lot of the noise out there on where to invest? What counsel would you give them today?
I would say that, if they can find people to help them learn some of the mistakes, even if it doesn't even necessarily have to be in that industry.
Okay.
It can be people who have lived it and done the same thing. Take advice from them.
Okay.
You have to sort through it.
Yes.
Everything goes back to the character of the person.
Yes.
And if they're good people, they're solid people, and they've done it, then that's probably good advice. And I would say if you kept 6 months, it's probably not enough.
Okay.
Just keep as much as you can.
Yeah.
For as long as you can, because sometimes even the industry or whatever you're doing, it's going to change. It's probably going to change. Your clients might change, cash flow, money, the people who are working with you. You may have a key person and scale up a bit.
Yeah.
You've got just two of you and they leave. You want to just live humble and keep the money as a reserve, especially if you're a young entrepreneur. And the reason I say that is because if you're young, if you're in your 20s and 30s, you're going to live another 50 years.
Yeah.
So having that backup, especially for entrepreneurs, because you don't have a pension and things like that, just live humble and keep the money.
Yeah.
Save it.
So save from a cash and keep building that reserve up. Build it bigger than what you think is what it is, because there's going to be a rainy day. Okay. And then you had mentioned as well, like people, you'd like invest in people as well to help you.
That's gonna absolute. That's such a big piece that I really didn't do earlier, and it, made me struggle.
Yes,
and I didn't have that support system around me either.
Got it. Yeah. Very good. And then outside of, so you're building the business there. What area do you like to, say, invest outside of the business? Is there a certain kind of area that you like to invest in? You had mentioned you're in real estate, but when you look cross-functional, or we'll say cross-industry, is there an area that you really like? Is real estate where you like, or where would you suggest?
Real estate's where I like.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. It's pretty much what I know now, and I just try to stay between the guardrails.
Yeah.
So there's different aspects to that. Like you could own a cottage, say in Muskoka or something, and invest some time and money into, redoing it or developing that parcel. So it could be a personal thing, but it's still real estate. You know, I just bought some land off someone who was in a multi-residential. That's what he does. So there's different aspects of it, but I would 1,000% stay in real estate. I've done the stock market thing. It's not there. It's not tangible. But it's not. It's just paper.
Yeah. It's hard competing against the multi-billion-dollar companies that, you know, they have really smart people that are in and out on the stock side of it. And real estate is just hard to, we'll just say it's hard to manipulate. You get to touch it, feel it, you get to see what other properties are selling for in the area. And it's made 90% of millionaires real estate. It's been the vehicle.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And now that so to that aspect, to that point, because I started rentals and taking roofs off houses, and now I don't even build houses anymore. Norm would say I haven't built a house in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I'm doing land development.
Yeah.
So it's real estate, the land, the money's in the land.
And then Ant Homes, then Norm is really taking it. He's doing the home. So you're like dividing and conquering to be able to make it more impact out there for people.
Yes. So there's two of us.
Yeah.
Two different rooms set up, interconnected.
Powerful. And you guys are aligned in what that vision is. What is the vision overall? If you were to explain it to maybe a potential client of Ant Homes, what if you were to kind of summarize what your vision is, how would you summarize that for Ant Homes?
Integrity.
Okay.
And care.
Yes.
And results. So you can have integrity and you can care, but you gotta have results. Gotta have it.
You know, it's interesting. I found that the best leaders are able to simplify their messaging down to the simple. And so you just did that so extremely well. It's not like this big, long paragraph that nobody really reads or understands. It's just, you know, here's what it is. You know, you said integrity, results,
Care.
and care. Yeah, so good.
And it's funny because I'm a big talker, so I know that if even our team all use them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to go, wait, just it's a one line. This is a one liner. Keep it. Keep it simple.
That's powerful. What are you excited about moving forward?
To keep going.
Okay.
Because I can see a lot more growth.
Yeah.
And our family is very tight. We have 2 grandbabies now.
Yeah.
So we get to spend time with them. And just the closeness of our family and seeing that the purpose is working is benefiting them. Great
Legacy.
Yeah.
That's
Legacy.
great.
Yeah. And some of the stories, my stories, some of them I shared here today, they know them all.
Yeah.
They know that they're very blessed and they're very lucky and very fortunate. And they had absolutely no control over any of their upbringing or environment.
Yeah.
Right. They do now, but they didn't.
You're setting a great example for your family and in really, you know, rolling out opportunity for them to be able to potentially be, you know, in the business with you down the road potentially. But even more than that, it's like business principles that will help them be successful in whatever pathway they choose.
Yeah. Right. And in life, because they're fundamentally be good.
Yeah.
Be a good person.
Be a good person. Yeah. It seems so simple, right?
Yeah, it does.
Do what you say, follow through, integrity. That's good. Okay. So you ready for a rapid fire section of the talk here?
Okay.
I got 3 questions here for you.
Oh.
You all ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So which book has made the biggest impact in your business or your overall wealth creation? Which book has made the most impact for you?
How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yeah.
A.N.T. Carnegie.
Yeah.
Wrote it in the 30s.
Yeah.
When there was one of those time frames, right? And it's funny because some books I read over and over, and that's one of them.
Yeah, that's great. It's one of my faves too. Yeah, top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
And any sort of service business, it's like a must read. I met Barbara Cochran there at a real estate conference. I asked her what her favorite book is, and she said that exact one.
Yeah.
That's powerful. Okay. How would people explain your clients, your team members, if they were to explain Wayne in 3 different words, what would they say those 3 would be?
No off switch.
No off switch. That's good. You got the energy you have. Like it hasn't changed since we met many years ago till today. And I think actually you staying active is actually, it's a big part of that. And also that you're doing something that you love. Like you get excited about, the business that you're in and, developing and building these custom homes. So that's such a powerful thing, I think, for keeping that switch on, right?
Yeah, it is. It's fun. It's fun.
Very good. So what advice would you give? You've given a lot of advice through this interview here, but what advice would you give your younger self if you were to give one piece of advice?
Get help, get education, get mentors from the get-go.
Yeah. Powerful. It's simple and very effective and and very much overlooked out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for any chance to even not it be a job, because you can be an entrepreneur, but if you're working in it and you can't do anything else, it's a job.
Yeah.
Where with assistance that's so readily available, you can learn things at 10 times the speed to stay ahead of the curve of everybody else who may be in the same industry.
Okay.
Because you might not be the only one there.
Yeah.
But you can learn more, get people to help you.
Yeah. Powerful. That's really great. Okay. Awesome. So this has been an awesome interview here, Wayne. So much value for the listeners. If they want to find out more about yourself, A.N.T Homes, they're thinking about building a home. What's the best way they can get a hold of you?
They can go to the website, A.N.T Homes, and just contact me direct. My direct link, contact information's on there.
Perfect. So anthomes.ca.
anthomes.ca.
Yeah, perfect. So they'll make sure to reach out to Wayne and his team, and you'll get some phenomenal service. So thanks again, Wayne. That was a great interview.
Great to see you.
Yeah, so good. It's always a pleasure, and we could talk hours about business. And so I'm glad we're able to capture this for the listeners.
I really appreciate your time too.
Yes.
I always learn something.
That's great. So thanks for tuning in to the Mark Faris Experience. I want to welcome you guys back in our next episode, where we speak to the most successful entrepreneurs, business owners that are out there to be able to give you a lot of value to help you scale and grow your business and wealth. We'll talk to you soon.